Identity politics as moral bureaucracy in technofeudal governance. From universalism to managed difference. Classical liberal and socialist politics, for all their failures, were at least organized around universal claims: rights, citizenship, class, law, the public. Identity politics marks a decisive break from this orientation. It does not abolish power. It relocalizes it into administrable units of difference. In the contemporary neo-post-imperial order, diversity is no longer a social fact to be negotiated politically. It is a resource to be managed bureaucratically. Identity becomes a classification system, a risk management variable, a branding asset, and a moral credential. What appears as recognition is in practice segmentation. Moral bureaucracy: how ethics replaces politics. Moral bureaucracies function by translating structural violence into procedural virtue. Institutions no longer justify themselves through outcomes, justice, equality, material improvement, but through compliance with moral protocols. Key features include codified language regimes, symbolic inclusion rituals, mandatory affirmations, rotating visibility of sanctioned identities, and punishment through exclusion rather than argument. Crucially, these bureaucracies do not resolve conflict. They administer it indefinitely. Ethics here is not about how people live together. It is about maintaining institutional insulation. Once an institution can demonstrate moral alignment, it becomes effectively unaccountable for material harm. This is how brutality persists under the sign of care. Tokenism as governance technology. Tokenism is not a failure of identity politics. It is its operational core. In technofeudal systems, where power is concentrated in platforms, institutions, and gatekeeping networks rather than states, representation substitutes for redistribution. Tokens perform three essential functions. 1. Legitimation. The presence of approved identities signals fairness without altering power relations. 2. Containment difference is permitted only in recognizable, curated forms. Unassimilable subjects are excluded not for what they believe, but for how they fail to perform legibility. 3. Diffusion of conflict. Structural antagonisms are reframed as interpersonal or intergroup tensions, which can be moderated, mediated, or moralized, never politicized. The token is not empowered, it is deployed. Tribalism without community. What emerges is a peculiar form of tribalism, stripped of reciprocal obligation, detached from material solidarity, and intensified through symbolic competition. These tribes do not exist to protect members. They exist to signal alignment to authority. Belonging becomes conditional on language adherence, public performance, and visible compliance with moral scripts. Deviation is punished not through debate, but through social disappearance, shadow banning, deplatforming, grant denial, exclusion from circuits of visibility. This is not traditional fascism, which mobilized mass loyalty. It is administrative tribalism, where fear of exclusion replaces belief. Civilizational brutality without ideology. In classical empires, domination was explicit: conquest, extraction, hierarchy. In the contemporary post-imperial order, brutality operates through indifference and abstraction. People are not crushed because they are enemies, but because they are non-legible, non-optimizable, non-profitable, or non-aligned. Civilizational violence becomes banal, managed by algorithms, justified by policy language, and enforced by dispersed actors who can plausibly deny agency. No one needs to believe in the system. They only need to operate within it. Identity as distraction from technofeudal power. While symbolic battles rage over identity, the actual centers of power, platforms, capital flows, infrastructure, data ownership, remain largely untouched. Identity discourse absorbs dissent by fragmenting opposition, moralizing disagreement, and converting critique into spectacle. This is why identity politics can appear both radical and utterly harmless at the same time. It produces heat without leverage. Why this feels hallucinatory. The hallucinatory quality arises because moral language suggests care while outcomes demonstrate neglect, inclusion is proclaimed while exclusion intensifies, and diversity is celebrated while conformity deepens. Subjects experience this as gaslighting not because anyone is lying consistently, but because the system has no stable referent. Reality is processed through filters, not confronted. The core function identity politics in this configuration does not emancipate difference. It domesticates it. It allows techno-feudal systems to appear progressive, Avoid redistribution, neutralize critique, and govern heterogeneous populations without granting them power. Diversity becomes a surface effect. Inequality becomes an administrative detail. The brutal conclusion. What is most violent about this system is not its cruelty, but its closure. There is no appeal, no forum, no tribunal capable of hearing a claim that does not already conform to the moral bureaucracy's categories. Those who fall outside are not refuted. They are unrecognized. This is why exposure changes nothing. This is why naming feels futile. This is why the abyss feels administrative rather than dramatic. The system does not need to crush you. It only needs to proceed as if you were not there.